It's the Christian Beer Show.
I'm always here for you.
Oh, thank you. So you're in Ecuador right now, and you were telling me that you're working in the public sector for a year as part of the Ecuadorian law. You have to do it. How do you like it?
So it was very difficult at first because it actually took a lot for me to start doing this year. That's, we have to do it. And I was practically sure that when I came back, I was in Spain first. So when I came back, I was like sure that they were going to open the doors for me because I already have like a specialty, and I would come and everybody would want to have a specialist in the public health system.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out it wasn't like that.
Hmm.
It was like trouble after trouble. I have to write to every person I could. I don't know. I don't even know the person, and I wrote through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You have no idea
Hmm.
until I got the job, and it took me for about something like 6 months to actually start. And the problem is that if you don't do this obligatory year you have to do, you can't work in any hospital or in public or private practice. So you really have to do this. And it was terrible. Those 6 months were terrible for me. I was sitting in my sofa for 6 months without doing anything. So it was really, really hard.
Which is kind of an unusual experience for a radiation oncologist to be sitting down in your sofa waiting for somebody to say, yeah, you can come to work. When there's clearly a need of radiation. Like, how many radiation oncologists are there in Ecuador or in your city?
In Ecuador, I don't know, but in my city, Guayaquil, I know we are like probably six,
What?
including me.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
I know. So the fact is that radiation oncology is only done in it's part private public hospital. It's an oncological hospital here,
Mhm.
and the thing is that I went there and they really want me to start over there. They practically have the papers to sign, but I knew that I had to do this obligatory year called rural,
Mhm.
and they tried to help me. They sent a letter to the public health ministry, and for them to approve that I could do it this year in that hospital because it's the only hospital in the city that has radiation oncology. And the ministry said like, no, there's no way you're doing that there. You have to do it in the public health system obligatory. And I said like, there's no radiation oncology there. What I'm gonna do?
Mhm.
And fortunately, I have a master degree in clinical oncology, which took me 2 years to do. And
Mhm.
with that, I've been doing fine, but it's not actually what I like to do in every day. And they accept me like 6 months later after I don't know how many calls I made, how many people I contact. You can't imagine. I don't know how to explain it, but it was terrible. And I was frustrated because I knew that it is needed. And I know I'm not like the best or anything, or they want, for me, Anabela Miranda, they want a radiation oncologist, and
Mhm.
or they need it actually. And they say no. And it was really frustrating trying to explain this and having just a no answer or sometimes no answer at all.
That is kind of fucked up, right? Because if you think about it, okay, there's only 5 radiation oncologists before you, and you
Yeah.
say, yeah, I'm not that good, or I'm not the best, or whatever. But yeah, you're being very humble because you train in Spain, and which is not easy, right? Like it's not easy to go there and get your training. You have to take a big exam, and then there's only a certain amount of like spots for you to get in, and people from all over the world go there to do that. So
Yeah.
it's not that easy to do. Then you were able to pass the exam, go there, get your specialty, and then decided to come back. And
Yeah.
there's only 6 of you, so they do need you. And then they say, "Yeah, no, don't do it." For no particular reason. Like there's no particular reason why they would not need you in this country. And I understand that because I went there a couple of years ago and I just passed by. to see if, you know, like I just wanted to validate my title. I don't
Hmm.
have any specific plans to go back to Ecuador and practice, but I thought, well, I'm in Ecuador. I visit every year. Why not have all my paperwork in like just like standing, you know, like
Hmm.
so my titles to be recognized there, etc. And just the going there and asking and say, hey, what papers do I need? And it was just so bizarre because they couldn't tell me exactly what I needed. It was like, oh, you can ask your program to give a list of all the things that you have practiced, like all the things that you have
Yeah.
trained in. I'm like, yeah, sure, I can do that. Like, what else? And it's like, no, just like bring everything you can. Bring everything you can,
Yeah.
and then we'll figure out whether we'll accept it or not. And
Yeah.
then I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? You should have a specific requirement paperwork that I should bring you for you to decide whether you accept it or not. If you're gonna make my life so difficult just for do this thing that should be just a paperwork, maybe I won't do it. And maybe I won't go there. And maybe you'll be missing on a really good provider for your country.
Exactly. For example, just what you're talking about. Actually, all the paperwork are needed for my specialty to be recognized here. I spent like 3 months in Spain before coming back, just collecting all the material, all the stuff, all the papers I could possibly get, with all the stamps or I don't know, a lot of things, just for them to approve and to legalize my specialties here. I
Mm-hmm.
had my brother who is a he's a lawyer. I told him like I had copies of everything and send him to the office that validates all this to ask if all those papers were okay. And until I had like the final, it's approved, it's okay, I didn't come back because I knew they would ask for something else. And
Yeah.
that's like that's like the law here. They ask you for 10 papers, and when you go there, they say like, no, 11. And you're like, why? Here it's written, like, you have it over here, a list of 10 things. Why you asking me for the 11th one? What's going on? And actually that didn't happen for me with the specialty title, but I did two masters. I have two master's degrees that I did during my years in Spain. One is the clinical oncology that I was talking before, and the other one is a master degree in hospital management.
Oh, okay.
And these two masters, they didn't validate it here
Really?
because, yeah, because they said, like, because I did it, how do you say that, it was part online and part you had to go to the actual classes, and because it was like in that format, they didn't validate it. And one of them, I can kind of understand the one in clinical oncology, because they said like, because it's a medical degree, you have to actually do it all in presence in the classes. Okay, I try to feel understand it.
Hmm.
But the other one, which is not like strictly medical material, you don't have to be in contact with patients or anything, it's just hospital management. They didn't validate it because I did it after 2015. That's the reason
What?
they gave me. Yeah. They sent me an email that said it was after 2015, and that's the reason they can validate it. And I was like, but I don't understand. You know, it was a master degree that didn't cost me $1,000. It cost me a
Right.
lot of money,
Yeah.
and it is the best university doing the hospital management in Spain. It is
Hmm.
recognized in the whole of Europe. So why they wouldn't recognize it in Ecuador?
Well,
you
obviously,
know?
because it was done after 2015. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. And I had to swallow that answer and go back to my home with my degree, with my title in my hands, and without understanding.
that's
And
fucking
now
crazy.
the country doesn't recognize it, but I'm going to put it on my wall, of course, and I don't
Yeah.
care if they recognize it of no or not,
Right.
because I know what I know and I know what I study, so I don't care. But
Mhm.
they didn't, just because I did it after 2015.
You know, it's funny because despite all of this, I know that you're very passionate about public health, which I think is one of the reasons why you went back to Ecuador. Is that right?
Yes, it is. I have this. it's kind of a social, I have always called it social responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
which I've had like since I was very little. And fortunately, I have the opportunity actually to go to another country and study in another country, because I wanted to, you
Mm-hmm.
know, without struggling with financial or something that can really affect that kind of decisions. So for me, it was very important to go to somewhere else to study something that I can't do here in my country, because we don't have radiation oncology programs here in any part of this country. And for me, it
So
was very
wait,
important to go.
sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah,
like
it's good.
radiation oncology, I mean, sounds like a like an important thing, right? Like I work in a cancer hospital, and a lot of patients get radiation. So I'm assuming that's what you provide, right? Is that
Yeah, exactly. I do the planification of the treatments and actually decide how many radiation that person is going to receive, where is going to receive it. We protect the organs that are not supposed to receive it. So we're a really important part of oncology. The thing is that I believe radiation oncology, at least at med school, for example, or in our countries, maybe not in the USA, but in our countries, it is very unknown. We don't study radiation oncology at med school, for example. We had like oncology and they talk about whatever, but radiation oncology is pretty unknown in general terms.
got it?
But it kind of treats for about like 30% of cancer patients. You know, the majority of the patients, the treatment, the better treatment is surgery,
Mm-hmm.
but radiation oncology is like about 30 to 35% of the treatments, and a
Mm-hmm.
less percentage is also the chemo. But the thing is that it happens with everything. Chemo has like more advertising and everything because it moves money. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the pharmacology, the how do you say, the
Pharma,
pharmacology,
yeah.
yeah, pharma. So it has like a more voice. That's why
Interesting.
I believe it's also very unknown, but it's really important. And a lot of cancer patients receive radiation and receive radiation,
Mm-hmm.
and you can treat a lot of patients with it. I actually believe it's the future of oncology.
How so?
Mm, because we have been seeing during the years and the studies that more precise radiation can be done right now, instead of, for example, like 20 years ago, them the machines that were used to give radiation were more precise in terms of defining the actual volume you want to treat, and especially protecting the organs at risk, that are the organs that cannot be radiated.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of toxicity in these patients. And with time, you know, they have improved a lot these machines, in order that they are very, very precise, that you can actually modulate the intensity of radiation,
Mm-hmm.
and they are more safe. They're very safe machines right now. And mm, this increases the amount of patients that can receive it, because you are not worried a lot about the toxicity you can give to these patients. Actually, I also believe it's going to be kind of the future, because it is cheaper. It is cheaper than chemo, for
Interesting.
example.
And what do you
And
go ahead?
no, what were you going to tell me?
What do you think? So I a lot of my patients are on radiation and also on chemotherapy every once in a while. Sometimes both. Sometimes also surgery.
Mhm.
Right? Like you do a little bit of radiation, then you go through surgery. Like you shrink it, then you do surgery. Um, or but what about immunotherapy? What are your thoughts about that?
that's that's also the future, because compared to chemo, which is probably what you can compare it to,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it is less toxic, or is the recent studies are saying that it is less toxic, and it has like really good outcomes in terms of survival, and in terms of, you know, how do you say this, side effects.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe we're gonna go there. But for example, I tend to to extrapolate this to my country, to Ecuador, and I see it like very, very far away.
Gotcha. Yeah, I see what you're saying. So it's probably more expensive doing this like immunotherapy is in the developing world context.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, and then you were taught. The thing is that it's so interesting to see. I have a few patients that are in immunotherapy, and
Hmm.
and it's so weird. Like in terms of like the tumors are there, they stop growing, and you just continue
Yeah, yeah.
taking this thing forever, and you're fine. You have the tumor. It's not gone, but it's not growing, and you just do that for several years, and you're okay, which is so interesting. Um,
Exactly. But here, I really can tell you how many drugs we have, how many immunotherapy drugs we have here in Ecuador, because at the public health system we don't use them. They are not available. So I can't really know exactly how many of them are, but I know it's very rare here in our country to use them. It's not like the common things. Also, because they are continuing to be studied, and you have to sometimes use them in clinical trials. Here in
yeah,
Ecuador, there are no clinical trials, so
right.
we can't use it. That's a big problem, because a lot of the things that we use are things that have been studied a lot of time, but you have to use what is approved, and you can like try with new things,
Right.
because
That's true.
there are no clinical trials here.
Okay, and then we were
Like
talking about. Go ahead.
like really serious clinical trials, you know what I mean? People
Yeah,
do whatever they want, but the really serious ones can be done here.
yeah. I feel like half of my patients are under experimental protocols, and I don't know
Mhm.
what the hell are they taking. And like it'll be like we're in protocol like P21744 monoclonal antibody. I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever that means.
Yeah,
And then
sure.
we have so many, and some of them do incredibly better in really like late stage cancer, which is kind of like a miracle thing that almost like that's why some people come here, right? Like you have tried all
Hmm.
these therapies, and then you want to get into that experimental therapy and see what happens, and you see some really miraculous recoveries, and sometimes you see these unusual side effects, and you have to figure out why is it happening when this experimental drug, and how to and how to treat them. But
Exactly.
you were talking about public health and how and social responsibility in
Yeah.
terms of yeah what do you mean, tell us a little
What do
bit
you
more
mean?
about
Okay, I think it goes back when I was like around maybe 4 years old. I was very, very young. I was like a 4 years old. I can't remember this story, but my mother told me like there was one time when we were on a car in the street here in Guayaquil, and when we were little, there was a lot of street, people living in the streets, and I was able to look at that. I don't come from a very rich family, but actually I have never suffered from anything similar to that. So I've lived a good life in that matter. And my mother told me like I saw this kid. It was a girl probably just around my age, and she had no shoes. And my mother saw me watching at this kid, and like a block away from that, I was already with my shoes taken away from my feet, and I was giving them to my mother so that she could give them to the little kid.
it.
Of course, I don't understand this, but I believe that we are born with that. And when I was like around 12, that is the time I believe I was really conscious about this social responsibility. I was the abanderada, which is like the best student of your class. You
Mm,
all have to swear to your flag, to your country, that you will protect it uh, no matter what, that you will give your life for your country, and that you will respect your dignity. I'm like translating an
mm,
actual thing that you had to swear, and
mm,
I took that with so much like truth, like I was actually swearing something that was going to be forever, because I was swearing it. I
mm,
took it like a really passionate thing for me. It was very, very deep. It went deep.
mm,
And
mm.
I think in that moment I already knew that I was going to be a doctor. And I said like, okay, the things that I'm going to help my country, because I'm not going to war and die for my country. That's not going to happen. But you know, but the thing I can do for my country is help people. And when, as I told you before, I have always had opportunities to study in a good school, to have food on my table, to have a roof, and my father made sure of that, and he worked hard for it, and I've always had opportunities. So I had to be responsible with that opportunities. And one of those opportunities was to go to Spain and prepare in a field that here in Ecuador is still in baby steps, and it's very raw right now. And for me, it was very important to keep keep to myself that I swore those words. I said I will defend the dignity of this country,
Mhm.
and I have lived all my life with that inside my head. I don't know if it's good, if it's bad, but I do. And for me, it was very important to come back and have this social responsibility with the people of my country that it was not given to me, but I built it through the years.
Yeah.
And it
Well,
called I
go ahead.
sorry, I think it all comes from that moment when I swear those words. I don't know. It's a moment that I can recall.
That's so interesting. It is a memorable ceremony, right? Like you are the best student in the high school, and then you stand in front of the whole school with this huge flag that you can barely
Yeah,
carry, and
exactly.
and you make this oath, I guess, and you
Yeah.
swear that you will like help, and I think it's a good thing, Anabela. I think that a lot of developing world countries, one of the reasons they have such a hard time evolving or progressing is because the smartest people leave and don't come back, and
Exactly.
it is left to very few individuals that have this moral imperative to sacrifice some of their lives to do this, right? Like you have just given a few examples of this sacrifice, right? Like if you're in Spain and you're a radiation oncologist, you're a highly respected individual.
Yeah, of
You
course.
make a shit ton of money, and you have like and you do, I don't know, top of the line type of cancer care that sometimes may be experimental, and you may be at the cutting edge of science. Sometimes you may not. That depends on what you choose to do,
Hmm.
but you will certainly not do that if you go back to Ecuador. If you go back to Ecuador,
Exactly.
people will not know what the fuck radiation oncology is. It's like six people. Nobody will respect it. Half of your titles, they will say, well, we don't accept that shit because you took some courses online and you did it after 2015. So go sit in your couch for 6 months and figure out life. So that's shitty. And that's a sacrifice. And especially so in somebody like you that has studied for what, 13 years? How many years have you
Probably.
studied?
I've studied since I was, I don't know, 3, but medicine probably, yeah, I've been studying all my fucking life. But medicine probably I started in 2006. So it's been
Mhm.
14 years now. It's going to be 15 years now on January or
Yeah.
so.
So you have been studying for 15 years. You've been preparing so that some asshole sitting in an office clicking no on the validation of
Yeah.
your title. That's stupidity. That's just ridiculous.
Absolutely. That's what I said. Like, I was kind of frustrated. I was, okay, I know I'm not the best in the world, but come on, there's no one else. Like, choose me. Why won't you
Well,
send it?
but I would
Doesn't matter.
argue, Annabella, you are amongst the best. I mean, okay, think about it like in actual statistical uh like imagine a normal distribution of uh, radiation oncologists on planet Earth. Okay,
Yeah.
on planet Earth, there's so many radiation oncologists, and let's imagine that the representation of of the quality it's related to the place where you trained, and let's argue that Europe and the US and
Hmm.
Canada, let's say, uh, maybe some other special countries that I'm not knowing, but because I don't know anything about
Yeah,
radiation oncology, are the top countries in the world. So you are probably trained in what, the top 15 countries on planet Earth. I would say that if
maybe.
there's a normal distribution of radiation oncologists of planet Earth, and you are being trained in the top 15 countries, and amongst these countries, like I don't know like the ranking of the place where you're at, but I don't assume that it's like in the amongst the worst in Europe, or amongst the worst in
No.
the whole North America, right? So you're probably not there. And then I would say maybe you're in the top 15 to 20th percentile of radiation oncologists on planet Earth. So you do probably deserve to call yourselves amongst the top radiation oncologists in the planet. So,
Well,
like if you think it in those terms, I think you are. And then and that just adds to the degree of the sacrifice that you are making coming back to Ecuador, taking lesser pay. Maybe the lesser pay will be for a period of time only, or maybe not
I
if you
hope so.
decide to if you decide to publicly to just work in the public sector forever. But I don't know. Like we haven't talked about that. Like
Hmm.
what's your plan when you're there?
No, actually, I have to finish this year that is obligatory to be able to actually work as a doctor here. And after that, I'm changing hospitals. I think I've done my, I paid everything in this hospital where I am, because you were telling me like how was this year, and at first it happened to me like I was really passionate about it, and I'm going to change things like little things. I like to change little things
Mm-hmm.
because I believe that little things make a big impact, and I like to change that little things. So I started and changing. I designed like a whole program to how to manage the beds in the hospital. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the oncology beds for the people that have to stay in the hospital.
Yeah.
And after like 2 weeks of doing that, my actual my chief, my leader,
Mm-hmm.
she told me like, hey, people are like saying that you are making them work a lot. I'm kind of embarrassed of saying this, but they told me like, you're making them work a lot, and they don't want to do it that way, so please could you like slow down so that they can keep up. And I was like, I'm not doing like, I'm not an ant like working. I'm just doing it right, or at least as I think it's right. And we only have 12 beds for all the chemo patients of this city
Okay.
in public health,
Yeah.
and you have to rotate them in order to them to get the chemo, or those who are with side effects of the chemo, or palliative inclusive, because we don't have a palliative care department. So I have to really manage the best that I can those 12 beds, and they told me to slow down. And this was like probably like 2 months ago,
Oh
and I was
shit.
like really disappointed. It happened on a Friday afternoon. I was already in my home, and I was, oh my God, I can't believe like I'm doing this with so much passion, and then telling me to stop, or to slow down, because they don't want to do it. Because I really think they are capable of doing. They're as capable of me as me, not doing like wonderful or magical or something crazy. I'm doing what it should be done, and they told me to slow down. So after the day, I was like, okay, I'm going to spend the months that are left here doing not the best that I can do, because they don't want me to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to slow down. And for me, it's going to be a period that's going to be over, and after that, then I'm going to change hospital. I'm going to this other hospital, which is only an oncological hospital. It's part private, part public. I still have like a chance to help people in the public health system, but I'm going to start with private practice as well. And my plans, maybe from a few years from now, I have already talked with some people, but I have to get more involved in the field, and actually work as a radiation oncologist, is to start something private with radiation oncology, which is not actual in any part of the country right now. We only have it in this kind of hospital, and maybe to have some competition with that, and that it's not about the competition, actually it's about creating opportunities. And I believe the more opportunity you get someone to be able to be treated in time and informed, because we have a long waiting list in the only hospital in the city that it's able to give radiation oncology, and people are receiving is their radiation like 7 months later than it should, or
What the
10 months.
fuck?
Yeah, and when I started seeing that in this year, look, I have goosebumps. It's like I can't, it's something that I can't accept,
Mhm.
and it's my plan to change that. Of course I know I'm going to make money, and I have
Yeah,
to eat, so
yeah,
but it's about changing this little thing. Like, people who have to receive radiation oncology can receive it the day and the exact date that they should.
yeah. What the fuck?
Yeah,
Like it's
that,
already bad to have cancer, right? Like it's already
yeah,
shitty to have
exactly.
cancer.
Exactly. And then the problem with this country, I believe, and what I'm seeing, I've been using this year to examine it, and like to really learn what's the reality here. Because I've been, like I told you, I've been in Spain, and it's not like the best medicine in the world probably, but they're really good, and the public health system is really good. Everyone gets their treatments, everyone free, everyone gets their treatment probably in the time that they should. And coming back to this reality is a contrast that probably I was not mm, really aware that it was going to be this contrast, like this far from one reality to the other. and and no, I don't know, it's like when I see this kind of cases, I believe that we have to do something. Like, it can't be this way forever, it can't. because
Yeah.
because people, it's as you said, people already have cancer. It's like terrible disease, and terrible emotionally, and terrible everything. And
Mhm.
for example, something that I can't accept as well, other than the people that can receive their treatments here in proper time, is that, for example, there's a lot of people who have private insurance, and they leave to other countries to have their treatments. And I understand that, because I'm not going to wait here for 10 months to receive radiation.
Right.
If I have the possibility to go to another place, I will go, because they will give it to me in a week,
Yeah.
and I understand it. But my goal is for these people to, because most of them go to another place and they don't have their families with them, and they are alone in a place, sometimes, for example, United States, and they don't speak English. And it's difficult. I believe it's difficult. And for
Mhm.
me, what's important, or my goal, is to give these people the opportunity to be treated here, so that they have the, it's not the chance, they have, the, how do I say this,
The
well,
opportunity.
I don't know. Yeah, they have some place to do it here. Then if they don't want to do it here, if they want to go somewhere else, I don't care. But at
Mhm.
least it's not because there's no way to do it here, you
Yeah.
know it's
And
because they want to.
yeah, and I think that one of the if I set my mind into, let's imagine I'm in that situation and I
Hmm.
have cancer and I'm in Ecuador, and then I'm like, what the fuck, what do I do? Right? Like, if somebody tells me there's 7 months wait list until you can get a treatment, I'm gonna get the fuck out of there. And even if, to be honest, even if there is availability for me to do it right then in that moment, and I go and check out the place and I go and check out the providers, and I don't think they're like good enough, I'm still gonna get out of there if I can. And that's why I think it's so useful to have people like you that have trained in really good places to lead these kinds of places, because that will give the comfort that people need to trust you, right? Like, just to
Exactly.
freaking trust you.
Exactly. That's the thing. If I was going to tell you, maybe if you were in front of me in that situation, I would convince you to do it here in Ecuador. Maybe you
Yeah.
would say, okay, I trust this doctor, and I will do it here with my family. And every day after radiation, I'm going to my home. I'm going to sleep in my bed with my, I don't know, wife or whatever, and with my kids, or I don't know, whatever the situation is. And that's something that's, for me, invaluable, to have these treatments with your family.
Mhm.
That's something that I don't know, when I think about it, because I have some, people you met in your life that have gone to another places alone, and for me that was very shocking
It's
to
lonely.
receive this treatment.
Like, let me give you an example. I work in one of these hospitals here in New York. It's also only a cancer hospital. Everybody that
Hmm.
comes here has cancer. It's like this last resort kind of cancer hospitals, Memorial Sloan Kettering. I don't know if you're
Hmm.
familiar with.
Yeah, yes, yes.
And so a lot of the times, what you're talking about, that happens. And sometimes I go and talk with those patients because I have patients that come from China, from South Korea, from Russia, from South America,
Hmm.
and they have left their families. They have left every single thing they have that is close to them to get the best possible cancer care, and that's great that they get the best possible cancer care, and they do. But they're also lonely. That is true. They feel very lonely.
Yeah,
They don't. They have difficult time to relate. Some people I need translators with. I don't know how to speak Mandarin. I don't know how to speak
exactly.
Russian. So then those, it becomes difficult for them to just be laying there in a room with without the capacity to relate to others, and especially if you're having like a stage 4 type cancer where you don't have a lot of time left, and maybe you need some palliative care on top of that,
Hmm.
and just to be close with your family, like, and just enjoy the last days you have left. Ideally, yes, and you want to be spending that in a place that with the people that you love, and having people like you coming back to the country making it better is worth it, and it's nice, and I appreciate you for doing it.
Yeah, I'm kind of really proud of it because it takes, as you said, it takes a lot of sacrifice, and but it's what makes me happy at the end, to know that when I quit working, which I will probably when I'm around, I don't know, 55, 60, I want to retire early, and when I'm done with work, I want to look back and said, okay, what I did help someone. When you're a doctor, probably that's easier because you probably help someone,
Mhm.
but really made an impact. I don't want my name on the streets. I don't want my name in the front of a hospital. I don't want the keys of the city. I don't want anything but that. But I really want to be for myself. I want to change something.
Would you
The
get
the
into
small things.
politics?
Probably I would. I like it.
Yeah, I see you
Actually,
doing it.
I like it. But here comes the thing. This country is really corrupt. And my father told me once. I said like a few years back. I said like someday I'm gonna be the public health ministry.
Yeah,
And
I
how
think
do you
you
say it
will
in
be. Yeah,
how do you say it in female adjective? The
yeah,
ministry.
the
I
Minister
know
of Public Health. I think
the
that.
minister. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna be that. And my father told me you won't last 4 days. I was like, why? I was very sure I'm going to do a good job. What's going on? And he said, this country is so corrupt that at the first thing they're going to tell you, like, okay, you have to accept this deal and you will earn, I don't know, 10 million, I'm inventing, and $10
Mhm.
million, and you have to do this and this corrupt thing, or then you're out. And he said, and as I know you, you're going to say, I'm not going to do that.
Mhm.
And you're going to be out. And I know I want to be something in politics, and maybe of course related to public health, but if they're not going to be able, or if I'm not going to be able to work properly as I should, then I'm not going to be in that position. I'm not going to put myself in a position where I won't be able to work with ethics and to work for the people. And if that's not going to happen, I'm not going to make a place in those fields because I'm going to be frustrated. I mean, I know myself. I'm going to be angry all the day, all the time. So I'm not going to do that. So if that's not possible for me, I will stick to what I know and help from my field in the small things that I told you and that I know someday will make a big impact.
You
Probably.
know, I was having just that conversation a few weeks ago with a friend of mine. I was in DC, and I have a few friends here from Ecuador, and they are actually in politics, right? Like they're
Hmm.
diplomats, they work in consulates or the embassy, etc. And I was telling them I would never go back to Ecuador, and I would never get into politics because it's so corrupt. And I
Yeah.
fear that I would start becoming corrupt myself if I were to become involved in that shitty system.
Hmm.
So I much rather just not do that. And and my friends got so pissed because it's true, because it's true, and because and this is what they were saying, like it's so shitty that like cool people, very smart people that really could make a difference are actively deciding not to do it because it's such an unworkable system.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
mhm. And
It's unworkable. It's not well paid. It's, I don't know how to. It's a lot of bad things.
yeah, yeah, you just have to go with a monk like attitude, deciding to forfeit uh, joy or at least material joy in your life in order to make it a little bit better. And then you're going to have a lot of resistance because there's going to be like a ton of people saying, hey, you're making us work too much. God damn
Exactly.
it.
Look, I did that in a really small scale. It was in my department. It was really small scale compared to the public health system. And they told me I made them work a lot.
Yeah,
For me, it was
that's shitty.
frustrating. That's terrible. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not making them do like wonders or really work like slaves. What they were thinking, what they're talking about. It
But
was,
it does seem like you have already like mentally figured out a way in which to make it work for you, right? Like you're gonna be in that country, and then you're gonna make the system better by creating a private practice that you can probably make have fuller control of, where you can arrange the dispatch of or the movement of the beds in your unit in a way that if
yeah,
somebody tells you no, you're making me work too much, you can just fire them. And
exactly.
yeah,
That's
and
it.
and, and and so then you will have some degree of fulfillment, and maybe then you'll decide to use some spare time to work in the public sector in a way that makes you feel like you're doing something for your country and doing some of this social responsibility that you're talking about.
Yeah, for example, I really want to be in public health because I think it's a place where you have to work the most and where there's more help needed, you know. And if it's not possible for me to be in a position where I can really change it, I know, I deep in my heart I know that with whatever I do on the other side, it will affect it as well. You know, it will have an impact. I want to tell you a story actually because it's related to this. 2 years ago, actually, yeah, 2 years ago on December this by these dates, I was at Houston
Mm-hmm,
doing an internship in at MD Anderson.
mm-hmm.
So I was there for a month, and the first day
Okay,
I arrived,
can I stop you for 1 second?
yeah, of course,
Yeah, and I just want to bring something up. You have said at least 3 or 4 times during our conversation today, I don't know if I'm the best, maybe I'm not the best, but I am this and I am
yeah,
that. Beyond the fact that we already talked about this, like normal distribution and where you stand in comparison to all other radiation oncologists on planet Earth. You're telling me that you did this rotation on MD Anderson, which isn't it that the best uh, oncology hospital in the world? I
it is. Well,
right?
it is rated like that. I don't know who rated, but it is rated
Yeah.
like the best
Okay.
hospital.
Okay.
In,
So some of your training you did in the best hospital on planet Earth.
yes, I
So
make sure to be in good places. I don't know.
yeah. So then what the fuck are you talking about when you're saying that you don't know? Like maybe I'm not like what are you saying? You are one amongst the best radiation oncologists in the planet. So what are you talking about? Stop it!
Maybe
Stop that fake
okay.
humility.
It's not fake. I won't say it's fake, but the thing is that maybe I'm measuring it. Probably, I know I'm good. You know, I know, but
Yeah.
I'm not the best. And for me, it's probably because at this point, everything that I had done in my my formation to become to become a doctor, to become a radiation oncologist, and everything I have done, uh, haven't had the I don't know, the goals that I have in my mind. They are not yet there. So I believe that when I achieve them, which I know I will, uh, maybe then I will say, okay, I'm the best. I did it. I'm not comparing myself to the others actually, but it's a comparison with myself. So I know I'm not the best because I haven't done yet what I haven't like building up all these years. So right now, actually, when I came back to this country, is when I know I already have like the tools to actually build something, to make something with all that I have been doing all through all these years. I have trained in really good hospitals. My hospital in Spain was very, very good, at least on radiation oncology. I've been in MD Anderson, and I have been in Gustave Roussy, which is the best oncological hospital in Europe. And so it is in
So
Paris.
there you go. So that's what you should be saying.
No, because I don't know. Well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe you're right, but I've been like this like my whole life. I have like
Well,
really good things, but I don't usually tell them.
yeah, and I get it. I get it. You don't wanna you don't wanna like overemphasize uh, maybe like the privilege that you've had in terms of
Yeah,
the places that you've
exactly.
been. But yeah, but you have to understand, Anabela, that there is a benefit to do it when you talk with your patients. If I was, let's go back to that case where I'm that
Hmm.
person that is about to leave the country, and I'm about to leave the country because I don't know if I'm gonna get the best treatment possible. If you come and you tell me, hey Christian, I am really good. I trained in Spain. I did some of my rotations at MD Anderson. I worked in one of the best hospitals in Spain for radiation oncology. I worked in the best hospital, the best radiology, radiation oncology hospital in France and in Europe. I know what the fuck I'm doing. You will be okay with me. That'll hit me. Like that will help me.
Yeah,
And I get it. I understand what it means to not be there yet in terms of the goals that you need to accomplish for you to feel accomplished, right? Like there are these
yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we all have that. I feel like we all have that, and I think that Nobel laureates also have that, right? Like everybody has that shit, and yet,
Yeah, of course, but don't. Sorry, I'm gonna interrupt. Don't get me wrong. If I die today, I will. I am very happy with what I have done because I know I've been doing what I was supposed to be doing exactly to get to the places I want to go. So if I die today, I feel accomplished
yeah,
because until today, these are the things that I should have done, and I have done them. I
exactly.
I,
And I
I
know,
did.
and I know you do. So then I don't understand why are you saying all that other shit that makes no sense.
I don't know because I'm never gonna say I'm the best at someone. Maybe I'm the
Well,
best at eating Hershey Kisses. That I'm the
sure.
best.
You don't have to say
But
you don't have to say I'm the best, okay? Because yeah, that's impossible to quantify. But
of
you
course,
can say I'm one of the best. You can say I'm really really good at what I'm doing. Anyway,
yeah,
it is just like a wordplay kind of thing, but it does reflect on how others will see you and how you will feel in the moment. I see your face. It's a different face when you're saying I'm really fucking good at what I'm doing in
yeah,
comparison to like I don't know, like like it's
yeah. I'm not.
a different way
Yeah,
of
I know what
communicating.
you're talking about. But I've been like this all my life because being like the best student. I don't know. In my school, they gave us every year, like these medals and diplomas, and my name was on the top of it through my whole life. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't regret it. It was fine. It doesn't give me any trouble, and it was perfect. But as I really like win all this stuff, for at least 18 years until I finished high school, which is when this happened. I think I was like kind of not ashamed of it, but I don't know, because it happened every year, and they all my classmates were like Anabela Miranda, like they were
Yeah.
tired of my name.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this happened to me all my life. So because I knew it would happen the next year, because I was the best at my class.
Right.
It was like that.
Hmm.
So it's never been like, for me, like my achievements have never been like, okay, put them on the wall. Actually, if you come to my house, all this, you don't know the amount of medals and diplomas and everything that I have. They're all like in one small box, all put like this, and I've never been like, showing them. So it's part of my, I don't know, I've always grown up with this, that I know I've done really cool things and really good things, and I tend to give my best in everything I do, but I'm not going to show it on a wall like, hey, look what I won. I feel like that. And it's not only in this aspect of my life, like the things that I have accomplished, but the
Hmm.
things that I have. And I'm very conscious of this. And I know it's probably not a good thing, and I will have to leave it like in another way, but
Hmm.
I'm really conscious of the things that I have. So I
Hmm.
know I have more, and I always have more than what I needed, and
Hmm.
I always have more than other people.
Yeah.
And and I'm very conscious of that, and
Hmm.
I've never said like, oh, look, what I have. That's not
Right.
a sentence that comes out naturally from me, like, look, I have this cell phone.
Hmm.
Like maybe other people can say, and it's fine, it's not a bad thing, but I'm very conscious of that, and I think I apply that in every aspect of my life, like not showing off what I have or what
Yeah.
I have accomplished.
Yeah.
And you can take it like it's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know, but I'm very conscious of that thing. So,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's like somebody says like, hey, you're going to some place, like, I don't know, traveling, and I have traveled a lot. And when people tell me like, so when you were there in Spain, did you travel? And yeah, I knew a few places.
Hmm.
I'm not able to say like, yes, I went to Portugal and then France and the
Hmm.
whole countries of Europe. I've traveled like a crazy person, because I know the person that is in front of me hasn't done it, and I don't know why I feel like
Yeah.
something like I shouldn't tell that too much. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, but I'm conscious of it.
Yeah, it's like it's an interesting psychological nuance that you're talking about, in the sense that you are very aware of your privilege. You have
Yeah,
been born in a privileged family that has paid you for a good education, that has given you good opportunities. You've had the opportunity to travel the world and do all these things that you're very excited about, and yet at the same time you have been born in a developed world country where you have witnessed so much poverty. and when
yeah,
and when just the mere fact of you mentioning all the opportunities that you've had and all the places that you've lived uh, can trigger the sense of lack and the sense of unfairness that the world that we live in has in others, and you don't want to do that to them,
yeah. That's
right?
probably that I couldn't express it like that, but that's probably the perfect description for what I feel when with all these things.
Yeah. and
So
then and then and then that's one thing, right? Like, we're talking about the privilege, financial privilege specifically. And then the other thing that I was talking about is, in some ways it is derived from financial privilege, because you had the
yeah,
opportunity
of
to have
course.
good education, but it also talks about personal effort, right? It is less likely, or it's way harder for a person that doesn't have the financial privilege that you did have to get the training that you did have. But
Hmm.
it is possible. You can go to a public university in Ecuador that is free, and you can learn on your own, and you can present yourself to these exams in outside of your country, and end up in these hospitals too. It's harder. It's very hard,
Yeah.
but it is
No, yeah.
possible. And
No,
then
after all, I'm sorry. After all, I'm actually also conscious that I've had the opportunities and that
yeah.
I have taken them. It's
Exactly.
not that I know that, and that I have made an effort to. It's not only the opportunity, because with opportunities things don't happen. You
And
have
let me
to work through those opportunities.
and
So
the reason I keep drilling on this is because I feel like I want to make an important point about this. Like, you want to be part of the public health, and I know, as a matter of fact, that you're overqualified for it. Like, if there's anybody that could do a good job in the Ministry of Health, it's going to be you. And you
me
have,
too.
and like, you have trained in hospital management. You are a trained radiation oncologist. You actually care so much about the country and its people that you have decided to sacrifice your own well fucking being for going back there, right? Like, so I know that you have the capabilities and the moral uh, proclivity to do a good job, and the
Hmm.
ethical responsibility, and like you are a good fit for that. And but if you're not able to communicate uh, your achievements in a proud way, leadership will become a difficulty, because what will happen is that there's going to be a loser that wants that position for
Hmm.
shitty for corruption purposes, and he's gonna look more because this is basic human behavior, and it's a problem, and it's annoying. And what happens is that a lot of people will portray confidence based on delusion. They think they're the best, and they have no qualifications for it.
Yeah, of
um,
course. There's a lot of people like that.
yeah, and then unfortunately, because the smartest people tend to show their achievements less so, because the more you know, the more you know that you don't know a lot of shit, right? And the more you
Exactly.
and the more you know that you don't know a lot of shit, the less likely it is to just confidently say, I'm really good at the fucking thing that I do. And then it's a problem. So then the loser that doesn't know anything is very confident about their thing. And so when it comes to speak about your mind and speak about the evidence of the thing that you have to say,
Hmm.
I know that shit because of all these reasons. And that doesn't, maybe in some way it is derived from your financial privilege. It is in some mild way, but it's majorly derived from your effort.
Yeah, yes, of course. Yeah, I'm sure of that. Actually, I think this conversation is like everything that I've said in this matter is because I'm talking to you. Well, you are my friend, and I can speak like this. But it has happened to me that when I have to actually fight for something, or I don't know, something that is not fair, and something like that, there's like an inner voice that comes out from my mind, and I'm very quick at the mind, and I respond to the others with the right words. So everything you're saying, I know where this come from, and I can see it as well. But I actually know that when the time is right, and when I am in the position where I have to actually say what I am, I do it, you know, and there's no shame there. This is because we're talking, and we're talking. This is the normal day, because I'm not in those positions every day, of course, and or in things that really matter or have an importance or gonna make a really
Yeah,
something.
I believe it. I remember when we were in class, you raise your hand. You didn't care if nobody else knew the answer. You just like fucking raise your hand and say what do you think. Something
Yeah.
that reminds me, like, this conversation reminds me of something else. When you do that, a lot of hand raising, and we start getting all these awards, and you become the best in your class, and all these things, and people start getting annoyed at you, and then that annoyance that people have at you, it's kind of like what you said too, right? Like it creates this, oh, maybe I don't want to talk about these things.
Yeah.
And 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 another psychological nuance about it is that, why do people get annoyed about your achievements when they witness them every fucking day? And this is not true for everybody. It's not,
Hmm.
but it is true for a big size of the population that does get annoyed at it. And then what happens is that your work ethic and your achievements, for the people that get annoyed by them, there is an internal reminder of what they want to do and are not doing.
Yeah, exactly.
There is a ton of people that don't care. Like they're like, oh, that's great. I'm glad that you're working your ass off. I'm glad that you're taking that extra effort in knowing that extra answer. I'm glad that you're like sleeping one less hour every day to improve the census in the hospital beds. They don't care, and they generally, you will get very well along with them. There's another part of the population that's me, that gets very
Mhm.
excited about people like you, because
Yeah,
they're like,
exactly.
yeah, we can do a lot of stuff together, and we just don't care about like how much we sleep or etc. But there is a subset of the population that will get annoyed, and this annoyance is a projection of their own anger against themselves, but they can't accept it in themselves, because then they have to take responsibility for it.
Yeah,
And so instead of taking responsibility for it, it's easier just to get angry at you, and it's not their fault, because they don't know that's happening necessarily. Some of them do if you have a conversation with them,
hmm,
but some of them don't. So if that happens, and it's happened to me, it will continue to happen to me. It happens to you. It will continue to happen to you. And I do think that at least a personal decision that I have made is that when that happens, I'm not going to alter my behavior, and I'm not going to alter the way that I speak if I'm showing you what you're not doing. So if I'm
yeah,
showing you what you're angry about yourself for not doing, then you either go do it, or if you get angry at me, I'm going to tell you why you're angry at me,
yeah,
and then you're
exactly.
gonna just be more angry at me. I don't care. So I don't know. Like that's something I just want to tell you, because it reminded me of myself like a few years ago.
Yeah, of course. And then I've learned to not take like probably anything that personal. You don't have to. When somebody said something bad about you or whatever, it hasn't happened to me a lot. Actually, it hasn't. But if it does, then I know. If sometimes sometimes you are doing something bad and you have to recognize it. But if you're not, and it's the other person who has the problem, and they have to, as you said, they have to work through that problem and solve it or whatever they want to do, but it's not personal. It's not actually hurting you if you choose to be not hurt by those kind of comments or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to not take like anything personal. Actually, you're gonna be fine if you don't.
Exactly. I forget what we were talking about before I got into this like crazy
Mm.
rant, but
Ah,
but yeah.
I was going to tell you. I was going to tell you the story of the MD Anderson, of the
Oh
first day
yeah.
at MD
Go
Anderson.
ahead.
So it kind of related to all that we have been spoken. And when I was at MD Anderson, the first day I knew the people, and this is where you're gonna be. Like this is what we're gonna do. I remember that when I went out of one of the buildings. I don't know if you have been there, but for the people who hasn't, there are a lot of buildings that conform this kind of hospital city. It's crazy,
Mm-hmm.
or at least for me, it's crazy because we don't have nothing similar here.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went out of those doors, I saw this building like looking up, and I'm going to really decorate this story, but the sky had like this perfect blue, and it was sunset, so it reflected all in these mirrored windows. And I look at those windows, and I noticed like tears were like running up my cheek, and it's very hard for me to cry starting there, but this happened, and I was like really emotional. And the fact is that I was not emotional because I was there or I had achieved getting to this place, but I was crying because my thought was, oh my god, I'm never going to see something like this in Ecuador. And that's crazy to think, like in my lifetime I'm not going to see something like this here for my people.
Yeah.
And that really got me, that thought. And I said like, okay, from now on I'm gonna work so that someday, I don't know when, but someday this is, or something like this is in my country. Because maybe I won't be able to build an MD Anderson kind of hospital or something like that for myself or by myself, but maybe I will like start something that, when years go by and people know me and listen to me and learn from me and go to other places and learn. And I don't know, maybe it's like a snowball, or at least that is what I want to do, like start that fire, so that one day, because it is possible, if it happened in Houston, Texas, it can happen anywhere, it's possible, it's not impossible. I won't see it, I know, I am very realistic that I won't see it, but I can start the fire so that someday something like that is here in my country.
And and I know you will. I know you
Yeah,
will.
I know it sounds like very dreamy, and I don't know, it's
But
like,
it doesn't. I don't think I have
yeah,
doubts in my mind that you will.
yeah, that's the thing, that maybe for people it sounds like really dreamy, like, look at this crazy girl, what's she's saying in freaking Ecuador. But deep in my heart, I know it's going to happen. I won't see it, but it will happen,
Hmm.
because I'm gonna make sure to start something. That is my goal, to start something. It's not to build it, it's to start it. And if someone, I don't know, maybe when I'm 60 and I'm teaching at university, which is what I'm going to do when I retire from medicine, maybe there's someone in that class that's going to say, oh my god, this doctor is right, like, I can do this, or I have the chances to do that, and maybe start something, because it is possible.
You know, that reminds me of like a doctor like that, right? Like the La Doctora Santibáñez.
Exactly.
She was like such an inspiration in my training. She was so mean. She was so mean, but like in the best way, Like she wasn't actually mean. Like she never
No, she wasn't.
she never like insulted anybody. She never
No, no, no.
disrespected anybody. She could have been. She was a little bit sarcastic here and there, sure,
Yeah,
but she expected nothing below excellence, and that's why so many people didn't want to go to that class because they were
yeah,
sure they were gonna fail it because they already knew they were not gonna even try to be excellent. How the fuck you're not gonna
exactly.
try to be excellent if you're a doctor? I don't know. Anyway, I do
Yeah.
know that I loved that, and because she created like I didn't know. I don't think like have so I had some internal high standards for myself, but she
Hmm.
created exceptional standards for myself. She made me realize what I needed to do to become exceptional, and we do need more teachers like that. And if you have more, if you like, and I know you would be a teacher like that, and that will inevitably create people to become exceptional, and you will just like turn the wheel forward.
Yeah, exactly. That is the goal, because we need teachers then like that. And when we have the chance to have them here in our country, there are very few teachers like that.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, in med school, there are very few teachers like that really motivate you to be excellent, and
Mm-hmm.
then do not take bullshit from you. It's like
Mm-hmm.
they want you to be the best you can be, and there are very few people like that, and that's crazy, but it happens. And it actually happened when I went to Spain, that I encountered people who, all of my teachers there were like that. And
Amazing.
I think that that's a place where I really found these people that really believed that I can do something, that I can
Mm-hmm.
change something, and really taught me how to. They taught me not only like saying things, but with example. I mean, I'm gonna be very grateful with them like forever, because they really trust, or really believe that I can do it, even in my country. And I don't know, it's like you meet people like this, and it happens, and it's really cool, because they really motivate you to excellence. That's the thing.
100%. And that's the
Yeah, that's
reason
really cool.
that I think that's the reason I am staying in the US because I have met throughout my training those kinds of people everywhere.
Yeah,
And now where I am, like these people are here and they really push me. They push themselves too. Like and it becomes this insane uh just workaholic vibe style of living,
yeah.
but I really feel like I'm pushing the science forward, and maybe I won't go to Ecuador and create something there, but I feel like the impact that I have decided to create in my life will be one more of knowledge, one of creating
Mm-hmm.
knowledge for the world. And that, and I'm making a point of writing book chapters, you know, like one of the
Yeah,
ways
exactly.
in which the developing world learns medicine is through books. And that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm writing, and I'm trying to push that forward so that other people can read it and maybe try it over there. And
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, that's the way I'm doing it. And I'm happy that
Yeah,
way. I know, yeah.
exactly. It's like it doesn't matter. Actually, for me at least, it doesn't matter like how you do it or what, or not how, but what you are doing in what field exactly, or where you're doing it. As
Mhm,
long as you're doing it, like as long as
mhm,
you're doing something that creates an impact. For me, the passion is in creating something that improves public health in my country. Because for
mhm.
me, that's terrible. I can accept it. I have it in my head every day that I go
Yeah.
to work. Like I can't
Yeah.
accept this reality. I hate it. It happens
Yeah.
to me every day. I go very happy to work because I love what I do. I love oncology. I love my patients, but
Mhm,
I hate the reality. And I will change that reality, or at least the part that I'm supposed to be changing, which is oncology. Maybe I won't change, the whole medicine of this country, but at least oncology. And you are doing it with knowledge, as you said, and it's a field that you like, but you're making an impact too. So, or at least we're working to make an impact. And that's important thing, that you find this place or this area or whatever that you can make an impact and that you're passionate about. It doesn't matter where you are or where you're from, or how you do it, as long as you do it with
mhm.
real passion.
100%. Everything we, all of us, we're made different, and we, I think, I really truly believe that we can find a source of meaning in terms of what we do. I mean, not all of them. It doesn't have to be career. There's like we like as physicians have like a very specific drive in our career. Okay, that doesn't
Hmm.
necessarily, doesn't necessarily relate to every single person on the planet, but everybody can find meaning in their life, whether it's creating a beautiful garden, whether
Yeah.
going back to Ecuador and making the system better, whether it's writing and figuring out how to improve psychiatry, whether it's like, I don't know, dancing, like dancing
Yeah,
and
exactly.
making people happy through like music, whatever. As long as what you're doing real, as long as you find that thing that makes you want to, that like this gives you joy through the doing it, then you're set. You're set for a really cool life. And,
Yeah, exactly.
and I think that's the way to go. Find that thing, do that thing every day until you die.
Exactly. It's not maybe always about work, as you said. It's not all about work, probably. Maybe it's a I don't know, easier way to find something to do that creates something or that improves something, maybe through work. But it's actually, as you said, like little things maybe in your life, in your everyday life, that really pushes you to be better. To be better with yourself and to be better with others. And for example, I've taken this thing that I never speak bad of somebody else. Never. Like, the gossip or whatever. I don't. And I actually tend not even to listen to it. And this is a very simple thing, but it improves my life and it improves the lives of others. And
Yeah.
it's really personal, and it's something that maybe no one notices, but for me it improves my lives and improves the lives of everyone else. So if we find these little things, I'm a big fan of little things. So if you find these little things in your everyday, and really, interiorize them and say, okay, I will do this or I won't do this, that affects other or affects me or affects myself, and then you can change the world even through those little things. I know I'm making an impact by not talking bad things about others. I
100%.
am doing it. No, it's a little impact, but I'm doing it. So
Mhm.
you find this it's very, you have to look for them, but it's very easy to find them.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I
it's very
some I
cool.
sometimes will get angry, and or like when I'm ranting, I will definitely get angry at the corruption of Ecuador because like I do feel strongly about it. I feel strong. Like you're
Yeah,
making people's life worse. So yes, I'm gonna give you them a couple of insults if I'm talking
yeah,
about.
yeah, oh, yeah. Of course, I'm not saying like I don't, but the thing is that, for example, and through this year that I have been here and
Mhm.
actually living more conscious of these matters, and probably than before I went to Spain, mm, I'm becoming less tolerant to these things. And actually, when I hear it on the radio or on the, I don't listen to the radio, when I see on the TV or whatever, it's like again this, or not again, but it's the everyday this corruption, and they stole something. And for example, they found a few weeks ago in a hospital. This is something I hate as well. Like they found at this hospital, like how do you say, medicines that were not able to be used because they were expired. Expired is the word. They were expired, and there were like boxes full of medicine expired. And it happens because someone who was at position, a good position at that moment at the hospital, found a very good deal to buy, I don't know, 40 boxes of whatever, and he got 50% of what it cost. And that person didn't know that if they were going to use those 40 boxes of that medicine, if they were needed, he didn't care, and he took the money. And then there's people dying. I don't know if you want to
It's
magnify it, but
awesome.
it's crazy, and you have to live with that every day. So I've made a promise to myself, like, okay, right now, what I can do to stop that,
Hmm.
what I can do to stop corruption right now, like in this moment with what I have. So I can't. I have not gone to the streets and scream, or I don't know, or make fire like
Hmm.
people used to do with the tires. I don't know if you remember when they have fire in the tires, but
Yeah.
the way I maybe it's not the time for me to go to the streets and scream,
Hmm.
but I know that I'm working so that when I am in a position when corruption is in front of me, I'm going to be able to say no, this is not going to happen. And for example, right now, little things that I'm doing with corruption is, for example, when something happens in my hospital, like, hey doctor, can you please? This happens for every day. Yeah? There are like nurses that tell me like, doctor, could you prescribe by the name of another of a patient some, I don't know, acetaminophen or something like
Hmm.
that for me because I need it. And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that because you're not the patient. I don't know
Hmm.
what you're going to use it for. I don't know if you're gonna sell it and make money or whatever. But if you're not the patient, I'm not prescribing that medicine for you so that you can take it. It happens to me at least once a week.
That's
And now
crazy.
they're not asking this favor to me because they know I say no. Because
Hmm.
that is corruption in a very small scale, but it is corruption.
Yeah.
And I won't do that, you know? And that's the way I'm fighting corruption, like in little scale.
Hmm.
Or when you have, I don't know if the people who listen to your podcast know this, but here in Ecuador it's very common to pay or bribe the police officer that stops you when you have made an, I don't know, a traffic, how do you say it,
Infraction.
infraction, exactly, traffic infraction, and you pay like $20 or $10 or whatever you have in your wallet, and they let you go. And for example, I've never paid anyone anyone. I prefer the fee, whatever I have to pay. I have told them like, I'm not going to give you $1. So give me my ticket, which I'm going to pay because I don't care. And they say like, you know what happens to me once? We were in this with a police officer, and he said like, hey, I'm going to give you this ticket, and you're gonna have to pay, or maybe you can give me some money. And I was like, what are you saying? And he said, no, maybe you can give me like $5, $10. And I said, like, I'm not gonna give you $1. Give me my ticket, and I'm going to pay my fee. It's okay. I don't mind. And he said to me, like, oh, that's what we need. Really honest people, really honest people that doesn't take these bribes. Like, I'm gonna try to help you, and I'm gonna make you pay like less of the fee or whatever, because you're very honest. And I was like, my God, you just asked me for money, and now you're saying like I'm the most honest person on the planet. Give me my ticket, and I went out of there. So this is the things that you can do, like, so some corruption in some little scale here in Ecuador.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really frustrating to see it every day on large scale, and to not have trust in your government or in anyone. For example, now we have like 17 presidential candidates. It's something that I don't understand really. And they are all there because of the money, because they are going to receive money just by being presidential candidates.
Oh
They're
my
going to
God.
receive a lot of money just by being that. There's like a $42 million fund to give to the presidential candidates to
Oh, interesting.
share. So
For
maybe next year,
advertisements.
yeah, exactly. So maybe I know some of them know they're not going to win. They're not even running for anything, but they're just going to get the money. And then there's people dying in hospitals by COVID or whatever else, and or those medicines that are expired, and $42 million going to be spent for campaign.
That's annoying.
So that's when I realized that we are this country of ours is like, it's a very rich country, but it is really poorly administrated. That's our reality. We're rich because this is
Mm-hmm.
a place with a lot of resources and a lot of good people, and people who want to work but are not able to work because doors are closed, because of corruption, because people are chosen by a finger to be in certain positions. And then there's people, I don't know, I'm going to say it, like me, who are really good prepared. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I've learned something from this conversation, that can, or it's more difficult to access to these positions where we can really change or make an impact, and really be a leader in something. And you can't, because they don't mind about your curriculum, they don't mind about your capacity, they don't mind about your intelligence. You are not the friend of your uncle's grandparent. I don't know, you're not just known by someone who can pick you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really frustrating, at least for me, because I wouldn't be in, I don't know, I don't want to be in the position when I know that I'm good for a position, and they don't choose me because they're going to choose someone with a finger.
Oh, that would be
And that
extremely
happens every
annoying.
day.
Yeah.
That happens every day. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm really thinking, I know I can work in politics, and maybe I will, but it's how I said before, it has to be like, it has to change a lot in the government. For example, if they ask me tomorrow to be the minister of public health, I would say no. Even though I know it's a good position and I can do a lot of change in that position, I would say no, because I know the people that surround me has not the same mentality as I have, and they're not gonna let me work. And this happens, as you said, with a lot of people. As you had your conversation with your friends, it
Yeah.
happens with a lot, in a lot of fields, not only in public health, but in, I don't know, in economy, whatever you want to work. And then they're really bad paid, and people said, maybe I will work privately because I'm going to be paid better, I'm not going to have problems, and no one's going to be like trying to bribe me, and no one's going to be trying to kill me or whatever. You're going to have a healthier and more calm life, not getting involved. And that's really sad, because it makes really bright people and really capable people not wanting to get involved. And for me, that's very sad.
Yeah. I'm one of those people.
Yeah, exactly. For me, but I understand. For example, if you want to stay in the US, I understand it completely. It's
Mm-hmm.
not. I'm never gonna be like judgmental of the people who doesn't come back to Ecuador, because everyone lives a different reality. Everyone has different goals. Everyone has different needs. Whatever. So for me, it's fine if you're there. I know you're making your impact, as I told you, from wherever you are. But for the ones that come back, and this reality, it's like they slap you in the face, in both cheeks, and then make you vomit, and you're like, oh my god, I'm so dizzy, but I have to still be here. And I don't know, I haven't lost my hope yet. I hope I won't lose it. But
And I hope you don't lose it at all. Like
no,
you just keep going. Like you seem like I think you'll be okay. I'm pretty sure that you will make an impact. How like definitely in the private sector. I think also in the public sector. How exactly? I don't know. We'll see.
we'll see. Exactly, we'll see. The impact
Mhm.
is going to be there, I know it, but we'll see how.
Mhm.
Yes.
Well, Anabela, as always, it's been a pleasure talking with you.
Yes, I was very excited about talking to you and having this conversation because we haven't had like a conversation for a really long time now.
Like years.
So
Like I don't even
yeah,
remember when was the last time we talked.
yeah, we have been like talking little things in that chat
Yeah.
WhatsApp group we have, but we haven't spoken like this, for example, in a
Right.
lot of years. So I was really excited today about this
No.
conversation.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad we did it. And we should do it
Yeah, me
again.
too. Yeah, sure. Why not?
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
thanks a lot. And good luck with everything over there.
yeah. That's what I need. Luck. Oh my god. Yeah, yeah. No, it's about luck and it's about effort, and I know it's possible. As long as I know it's possible, it can happen. So
Yeah,
that's fine by me.
absolutely.
And you're gonna watch me, and then maybe I will convince you in a few years to come. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I doubt that will happen. But hey, we can try.
Maybe. I'm not losing hope. Remember.